Hello and welcome to the 8th International Uşak Seahorse Short Film Festival. We are here with Benjamin today with his film Some Things Are Hard to Say. Welcome, Benjamin. Welcome to Uşak International Festival.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for inviting my film.
David's film right now available in website. You can watch it till end of this week. I guarantee that you will like this film. It's a beautiful, minimalist and funny melodrama, I can say. So some things are hard to say about this film. What was your first? My introduction is there's a strange man called Basti and looking for his best friend, David, an Italian guy, I guess. And it's about this strange man. The whole film is about this strange man. How does this story come from to you? What was your inspiration about this story, Benjamin?
It's actually quite a long story, so I'll try to keep it as short as possible. But before this short film, I made another short film, which was called Of Not Such Great Importance, which also played in Berlin, and which was a story between Davide and Basti. The main character in it was Davide. How I started these films was, at the time, I had been writing a lot on a feature project. I didn't manage to get it off the ground and start. So I had this idea, okay, I'm gonna approach it differently. Instead of just writing, I'll see what is around me and I'll work with that and try to make a film, because I really have to make a film just. And at that time I was working in a restaurant. I was dishwashing, and the cook next to me was Davide. And Basti was a person living in that street, and he would come by every day in the restaurant to ask for free things, for a free coffee or a free omelette. And I was only part-time working there because I was working on my film work. But Davide, he had developed a sort of relation with him, because that man, Sebastian, he has a sort of mental condition, and he's not able to stop talking. So he just keeps talking, and it's sort of a mix of memories and fantasies, and sometimes you don't even understand any of the words he's saying. So the first time he came in there, I was totally a bit shocked and taken by him. But then after a while, seeing how Davide could actually communicate with him, and there was this sort of humoristic relation between them, this inspired me to try and make a film around this meeting. And Davide, between cooking, had mentioned that maybe he would want to act one day. So I just asked him, like, Davide, do you want to do a film? And what do you think of maybe doing it with Basti? And so the next step was asking Basti. So we met with him, but sort of officially. First, it was not anymore him coming by in the restaurant, but we really went to look for him and try to have a conversation, because it's very difficult or different. And then I think for half a year, I met with him about one time a week. I mean, the first time we asked him, do you want to do a film? He was really excited about it, and he was like, yes. But you have to imagine a conversation with him is like repeating your question many times until it gets through to him, and then he can answer you, and then he might forget it again, or he might remember. But generally, he's good at remembering things, strangely enough. So he does remember me, and so I did this film where Davide was the main character and Basti was a side character, and the experience was just so fascinating, because Basti, he would just go off into his own world, and he would be really an actor, actually, what you would expect from an actor. You know, you give him something and he forgets about the reality and just gets into the fiction. And that process was so exciting. It was very difficult as well. That I was okay, I want to do a next part to this, and here I want Basti to be the main actor. So I actually wrote this second film already with Basti in my mind and with knowing him. So I knew sort of his routine, how he lived, and then I aestheticized this and put an emotion of myself. I mean, I think I was busy with myself and made this fictional story around it. So that's how it came about.
Well, that's perfect. I'm really shocked that Basti is a real character. I thought that it's inspiringly good actor is playing.
He's a good actor. I mean,
He is actually. And another question of mine you just answered. I was going to ask, the acting, is it coming from observational part, but you knew this person and you put him to a role and he plays himself in a way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at actors, there is always, like, actors usually play themselves. Like, there is little actors that entirely play somebody different. So in this way, he was aware that he was in this fiction with us, that we were shooting him. Of course, it was not a style. There were lines that I gave him. But yes, of course, a big part of how he is and his naturalness, authenticity on the screen is him, of course. It's really excited to work with. Yeah.
It's really perfect. I congratulate you, even finding this beautiful character. Another aspect is about the writing part. I would like to mention. So after you find Basti and David's story, you want to keep going about this story. You want to move along these stories as well. So how was your process about writing? I guess there are 2 screenwriters in this project. How was the collaboration process for you about writing?
So the second screenwriter is actually my partner. And she's working at university in film studies, so more the theoretical part of film. And on a general level as well, in my work as her work, we discuss a lot. So in papers she writes, or in the scripts I write. So it's sort of an organic collaboration that came about because of our partnership, I think, our understanding of each other, and our fascination for cinema. Now the thing was with Basti, I was mainly meeting him. I had invited him at our house 2 times or something, so she had met him. But I was mainly meeting him and coming home with these stories about, like, what we did that day, or and one of these stories was that he had told me already several times a friend's name came up in the stories he told. And one day I said, like, who is this friend and why have I never met him, and can we not see and meet him? And he was like, it's just all right, I know where he lives. And so we made a meeting and we went to look for this friend. But when we came at the door, I mean, we went to buy a bottle of alcohol to like be arriving there. When we came at the door, the name was not on the bell anymore. And when he rang, nobody opened. So he was like, okay, he must have moved. And I asked him then, like, but when did you see him last? And he was like, I don't know, I don't remember, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. So then we went to the post office, because that was his idea, to go and look in the telephone guide to see could we find this name and this address. We crossed the whole of Berlin to come at this door where we did find his name, but then we rang and nobody opened. So it was sort of a bummer end to it. And then we just sat on a bench and drank this bottle of alcohol together. So this was sort of the seed where I thought, okay, this is a nice sort of little plot. And I can connect it to Davide and to this friendship that as well I have with him as he has with Davide. And Davide had actually, after the first film, moved back to Italy. So there were all these ingredients, and then it was just about how do we put them in a small story that also doesn't take too much place, because for me it was important to just work with Basti as a character and have this plot sort of not of the biggest importance. It's just sort of a way in. So I think, I mean, if that answers your question.
Yeah, of course, of course. Also, there is inside the story. There is also a philosophical aspect that Basti is searching for his best friend, but it's a search that I at first when I watched the film, I thought that so he lost his best friend. There is no best friend, and it's a grieving story. But there is a search. Basti is still living, but the search is going for. David is living. The search is always going for Basti. So there is this philosophical aspect, and also maybe the psychological part, because Basti displays some mental disorders. Maybe I don't know what to say about this, but combining these two aspects, what can you say about Basti and the approach of the film?
Well, I mean, I think what I was looking for in with Basti was more like because he's a character. When you see him, people take very quickly distance. They think he's very different of them, that he's strange, that he's. And what I discovered was, I mean, what I discovered through the time spending time with him, and also in the way I told stories to my partner, was that it was like any. I mean, it was a friendship, like any friendship could be. And so very important to me in making the film was to look for these things where I connect with him, where I feel like this is actually very similar. I think in the same way, I have the same things. And another aspect of it is this first short film that I made of not such great importance, which was actually about my own searching process a bit that I projected on Davide, which was very like, yes, I think philosophical, or like what to do in this life, what is my position, where do I go? And then in Basti, I saw that there was this, he's very grounded in a way. So he has these routines and he has these same days, although his mind seems to be very chaotic and there's a lot going on. It's also very straightforward. And so I was fascinated by this contrast, I think, by this opposition of somebody that you would think is really living in a chaos, or you also see it in his apartment, everything is just piled up. But then on the other level, he seems to be very like stable in the world, while I am like constantly up and down and in my head and thinking, should I do this, do that? So I think that if you talk about a sort of philosophical or psychological background, that is sort of the thing that was hanging over this, like to put forward this opposition.
Perfect. So we can maybe talk about the production part of this film. As far as I can understand, it's your production company's film, right? You don't have any co-production partners or anything. So it's totally independent, we can say, this film, right?
It's definitely independent. The production company is actually that of my sister. But she works more in the art world. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm sort of bridging this space between narrative film and art. Mm-hmm. And then I work with Flemish funding from the Belgian government, the Flemish government, which is indeed me writing applications and trying to find funding and setting up the film. So yes, it's very independent in that way. And then I have a sort of long-term collaboration with the DOP. We now shot a third film together, and he's always taking a sort of position of co-production and assisting there in with the means he has and the equipment he has and things like this. Yes.
Perfect. About the production, how was it? How long does it take to actually make this film? I'm not talking about the post-production part, but because there is a spontaneous character, a real-life character, I'm curious about the performance and the takes. How was it easy, or was it hard that you would expect? How was it, the production part?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's quite different, I guess, than when you work with a trained actor. But the thing was that I already knew very long in advance I was going to work with Sebastian, and So I knew how he is and how he was, and we had did this previous film. So I knew we would have to have a lot of patience. And that, of course, that in camera, we would have to keep also this very simple style to give the freedom to him. And that the main thing I would have to be busy with would be with him, so I couldn't really be busy with other things. So there was a lot of preparation. And in time, I had this sort of efficiency way of working, which was like I look for all the locations as close as possible around my home, which was our home base where everybody would stay. Okay. So usually during the shooting, we would have one location and then go by foot to the other location and then go by foot to the third location and just move the equipment like this. And with a sort of challenge in which I like that you don't go for the most beautiful location, but you just work with what you have and there find the creativity in that. So I think that was one aspect, to save as much time as possible on these things, so I could put more effort and time into working with Basti. But then the advantage with Basti was that sometimes he would like do it right from the first take. Like you would give him something and it would be just so amazing that you would be like, it would be fantastic performance, immediately happy. But then in another moment, he would have to walk from left to right and it would take hours because, I mean, I exaggerate, but he would never do the walk. He would just stop in the middle and start talking or think about something or go the other way. So that's how we came up with this thing of him following the wall. Because he didn't want to walk but if I'm telling him, you just follow the wall and go until there, then he would do this walk that we needed. And actually the first shot of the film is the first time that he was following this wall, and he was like very stressed about it. He was doing it right and managing. So you see the concentration in his face when he's following this wall, and this shot was just so fascinating to look at. That it became the opening of the film. So there is partly this spontaneous part and partly a lot of preparation. I think that's what usually makes an interesting film.
Yeah, I totally agree. So thank you very much for joining our interview, Benjamin. It was really a pleasure to watch your film and interview with you. For our audience, you can find Some Things Are Hard to Say in ushakfilmfest.com. Please go and watch this film. And again, thank you very much.